World hunger has been on the increase for the past several years before the pandemic. The situation is only made worse by COVID-19. The drivers of that increase in world hunger are, most importantly, violent conflict and then also climate change. So unless we manage to address the problem of conflict, unless we manage to build peace, we will not be able to build food security. Hunger also is very often part of the background to, or a triggering factor for violent conflict. So we cannot really build peace unless we build food security. It would be best if the work of building peace and the work of enhancing food security went hand in hand and were never, ever seen as competing priorities.
So an encouraging example we've seen in northeast Nigeria. Their populations who have managed to fled areas that are held by extremist groups, they often end up in garrison towns, and these are surrounded by defensive trenches. And in these towns, they're cut off from their livelihood activities. They can't reach the fields where they used to cultivate. Aid agencies and organizations working in these areas have provided migrants with an opportunity to conduct small-scale agricultural cultivation in these trenches. Or they have also provided, for example, big canvas sacks or bags with soil filled with the right, which have the right moistures, the right nutrition content, where they can cultivate vegetables that meet part of their food needs. So an advantage of this is not only that this small-scale agriculture production allows people to meet their food needs, but it also enables them to maintain their farming skill and pass them on, which is really important in farming communities.
The good news in the essay that we have put together for the Global Hunger Index is that this partnering of work on peace building and for food security is possible and is happening. We see several examples, several cases that show how work on food security contributes to peace, and of course how peace contributes to food security.
Food interventions can also help generate the conditions needed to build peace. We've seen that in Colombia, where after the 5 decades long conflict with the FARC, in certain areas food interventions are bringing communities and former combatants together, effectively bringing victims and perpetrators together to work on livelihood projects in very remote areas of the country. So on the one hand, this helps by increasing food security, increasing production, making production more climate resilient, but more importantly, the projects, they not only bring communities together, but they are also important to keep former combatants active, engaged. It helps them keep their motivations to remain in the peace process at a time when this was seriously faltering. Their leadership skills that they brought, it was a catalyst also for communities to come together. And this is so important when it comes to resilience building between victims and perpetrators. So what this example tells us about the connection between food security and peace is the importance of local context. Each case is complex, as we've seen, and it's hard to generalize out. We need the contextual knowledge in order to break the linkages between hunger and conflict. To foster the potential of food systems to contribute to peace, we need well-grounded knowledge of each of the settings. We need a good understanding of the respective actors on site. So we need to understand how these dynamics come together and what that means for sustainable, long-lasting peace.
Our understanding of the relationship between peace and food and between conflict and hunger tells us, first of all, that if we're going to make progress on both of these issues, we need a very flexible and agile approach. We've got to take advantage of opportunities as they arise, and we've got to deal with problems as they arise. The second thing that means then is that we have to be working in partnerships. What we see is we look at the nexus between humanitarian work, development work and peace building. You shouldn't expect that any one organization has all the capacity and all the knowledge that is needed. You have to work in cooperation and in partnership. The third conclusion that we've drawn from our work is that this cooperation, these partnerships, they have to be real at what you might call ground level, in the local areas where the problems are being addressed. And they have to be inclusive of all of those people who have something to offer. And we think that the most efficient way to do this would be to bring these different actors together around the table in sort of food and peace hubs in local areas and have them working together. The last piece of the puzzle is that the financing has got to be available in a way that meets this need for flexibility, agility, cooperation and partnership. We have to get the funding out of the silos if we're going to be able to work in a multidisciplinary way. And that's what this set of problems is crying out for.